We'll start by kicking in with the game's preview. The first qualifying final Thursday at 7:40 p.m. at the Adelaide Oval. It's Adelaide taking on the Pies. A bit of experience versus exuberance, I've sort of been thinking for this one. You've got an up-and-coming team against a bit of a past juggernaut, won the 2023 flag, obviously. And Collingwood have dominated the Crows in recent times up until their most recent meeting in round 23, where it was, 3 points the margin. Adelaide came back from 25 points down in that game, and that's the most recent meeting that we have, particularly at Adelaide Oval, but the conditions were wet. It wasn't probably a typical game that we might see on Friday. What do you boys think?
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word domination there. They did win 11, but a lot of those were close games while Collingwood was good and while Adelaide were rebuilding. So I actually kind of think that's a bit of a red flag for Collingwood now that Adelaide are top of the league.
Not particularly relevant.
Mind you, they have played twice this year and they've both been very close games, the first one being at the G where Collingwood won. So, it'll be interesting to see how Adelaide front up in that game, considering there is a mental edge of having just beaten Collingwood. It was such a close game, though. It really could have gone either way.
Do you think the stats play into it at all? The fact that I think the inside 50s that night, didn't Collingwood hit 70?
Yes, 71, I think.
71 inside 50s. Like, it was absolutely obscene. And I mean, that obviously that has no outcome at all on the game. But is there any, I don't know, is that going to get inside Adelaide's head at all? That we kind of, I guess in general play, got a little bit dominated around the ball?
71-37 inside 50s. And Collingwood kicked 5 of their 8 goals of the game in the first quarter as well. They got off to that hot start. I think in the midfield it's pretty evenly matched.
They've got different types, don't they?
Yeah, obviously, when you got Dacos running around there. But I think their sort of depth sort of starts to peter out around that 4th or 5th guy, whereas Adelaide have quite a few players that can run through there. I don't know how much Neil Bullen's played on ball this year, but even he can do a job in there as a bit of a pressure tagger as well. So, Dawson got a lot of awards the other night on the awards night. I don't know what the awards night's called.
Yeah, I wonder why they call it that.
But I think the Crows a little bit more well-rounded heading into the final series, and obviously got the minor premiership as well.
Whether it gets into their thinking, they would have reviewed the crap out of that game, both sides, obviously. That's part of the weekly process. And I'd imagine that would be a big talking point, the amount of inside 50s conceded, but also repelled. I think it's a bit of an issue for Collingwood. I think they had a monstrous amount of inside 50s against Fremantle. I think it was 55-24 or something at three-quarter time. But the quality of those inside 50s, particularly in the Fremantle game, were not great. They were well defended, but Collingwood play this turnover game, and they could try and play front half footy and play territory, which is good for finals. So I think that's conducive to a finals game. But at the same time, they have their own issues with efficiency in some of these games.
I was going to say it's conducive for giving yourself a chance to win the game. Absolutely. The issue for Collingwood, I feel, is they don't have those big contested marking players up the line. Their forward line, if you look at the numbers, they're one of the weaker contested marking sides in the comp. Most of their inside 50 marking is done on the lead. So they kind of like to bring the ball, change angles essentially, and then come in, get everybody sort of running on the opposite side of the field and get marks that way. So I feel like the better teams in the competition can sort of choke you up a little bit, and that's what kind of I feel Adelaide did to them. Just give them those lower grade entries. And without players like Bobby Hill and probably up until now, Jordan De Goey, although he's starting to come into form, he hasn't been able to... They're sort of those clutch players, you know what I mean, that give them goals from nothing.
Is Bo McCreary out as well?
He's back.
Back in,
he's coming back in.
And Bobby Hill trained this week, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
So how likely he is of actually getting named is another question. But I think if they were to get De Goey over the past probably 2 matches, I felt like there's a greater explosiveness to his game. The speed is there. And I think the most recent game he actually... Was that the one against Adelaide? Was that the most recent? Melbourne, yeah. That was the game where he actually had good numbers and kind of stayed in the game across all 4 quarters. So I think he's a big wild card for me in this one. I think, Dan Houston even, he hasn't really done much this season. So he's another one I think that can kind of... I don't know, if you got 20% more out of Dan Houston that you haven't really got across the season, that's probably another area that they could get at Adelaide.
I thought he had a pretty good game in that Crows game as well, back at the Adelaide Oval. There's going to be a lot of fire in this game as well, given what happened with the Isaac Rankin situation. Apparently he was saying he's going to put Rankin on a stretcher.
Houston?
Yeah, he was saying that, he would put him on a stretcher again.
Oh, that was because that was in relation to when he...
knocked him out the previous...
Okay.
Don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But, Bobby Hill and Bo McCreary were such a important part of the success of Collingwood when they won that premiership. So I don't know if Bobby Hill's going to come back in. Probably more likely not, but
it'd be 50-50, I'd say. Like they'd really want to get him back in. The other aspect of just the head-to-head side of it is like the tall forwards, I think, for Adelaide, like the Thilthorpe, Fogarty,
and Big Tex.
Like, do you think that the Pies can contain them for another game? Because I feel like, if anything, the conditions probably suited Collingwood being able to keep those guys out in the previous game, given it was so wet.
Yeah,
so like it probably adds another element for them to improve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you'd think that with wetter conditions, the inside 50s would be cleaner. So there was still the supply issue there for Adelaide regardless. And Thilthorpe kicked a late goal and won them the game. Not to shit all over your point at all. But yeah, just playing devil's advocate there.
Do you think Adelaide have many different gears to go and different ways to play? Because I remember when we were doing that live stream, you were talking about Adelaide being a team that likes to go long to those guys and then have the small sort of crumb, whereas a side like Brisbane, for example, has so many different ways that they can play. Do you think Adelaide can switch it up this final series?
It's a good point. And I think a lot of that gear switching and being able to like flick into modes comes down to experience a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's the question. Like we haven't really seen them. We've seen them go on this run, and amidst that run, you play weaker opposition and stuff like that, and you can get momentum. But it's different in a final series, right?
Yeah. Tactical battles and that.
Yeah. I feel like with a team newly in the top four, like Adelaide, where they've had a big shoot from 15th to 1st, like you really want to get this win. So then you've won a final straight away, straight into a prelim, and
Home
you don't
prelim.
Yeah, exactly, and you don't want to have to worry about getting on the road and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a numpty point, sorry to make, but like finishing top four is actually so crucial. Like having a home final in the first week of finals as a Dockers fan, it's like it's great. We got to play Geelong or Brisbane the next week. You know what I mean? And it's like the difference between like one win against Sydney would have had us in the top four. And it's like, that makes so much big of a difference. I know Brisbane did it from outside of it last year, but
I also feel this year, I think I said it on one of the other streams, but because of the quality of complete opposition in the top 8, or teams in the top 8, because it's very even, I feel like it's going to be even harder to make it from outside the top 4 because you're going to be playing really difficult opposition. So to be able to go on a run is going to be more
those small differences will make a big difference this final series.
Yeah.
Jesse?
I want to get to the chat shortly, but I was thinking actually in the shower, I don't know why I mentioned that, it's a little gross, but I was thinking this is probably more of a question for like Adelaide's broader finals prospects. Somebody said in the chat the occasion might get to them, which is a good point because they haven't played finals with this particular group. There'd be a handful of players who've played finals. But I was trying to go through all the premiership teams over the last 25 years that had never played in a final series, or at least, let's say, a large portion of their team has not played finals.
Talk to me.
I can't think of a single premiership team who has not played finals.
Did you actually do the exercise? Or
I went back in my head, yeah. So Brisbane obviously experienced Collingwood.
Yep.
Geelong, 22.
Yep.
Melbourne had played in a bunch, 21. Richmond had a three-peat, but three premierships, but they'd played finals the years before that.
How many years did Richmond make finals before they won the flag?
I reckon they made it in 13, 14 and 15.
Yeah.
And they lost week 1 each time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had it. They were probably the closest to that, right? As in, like, they weren't really an established good final side.
Yep.
The D's had only made finals once, right? That 2018.
Yeah, they made a prelim, so that's 3 finals.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is still 3 more finals than Adelaide here. West Coast had done plenty. 20, and then you have a Hawthorn 3-peat, you have Sydney in 2012, and you just have to go back to, I don't know, maybe the Brisbane Lions in 2001. I don't know where they finished in 2000, but I was trying to like defeat the argument that Adelaide can't win the flag because they haven't played finals, and I was like, wow, that's a huge body of data there to suggest that if you haven't played finals,
I've
you won't
seen
go
enough.
There. Yeah,
I'm just picturing you like drawing on like the shower glass, like 2002. No,
I bet you are.
I'll just open the door and walk myself in.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. Adelaide won't be, this is a comment from Shifty, Adelaide wouldn't be on a 6-day break. It's 9 versus 9 this time. Okay, Collingwood had 9. They'll be gaining Laird and Michaelani. On the flip side, they lose Rankin for Pedlar. Yes, the Rankin element here is not insignificant, albeit he wasn't a big player the last time they beat Collingwood. I want to say there was a goal.
Oh, he's so dangerous though.
I reckon he got a goal when Quainer was defending him and it was just a forward 50 stoppage and he sort of got away, and it's just that threat
I feel like there's also like with those kind of players, that level of player, the amount of time and work that the coaching panel puts into a player like that, which probably shifts attention away, and then Dawson can do better and stuff like that. So it's hard to actually quantify how much they bring.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Cardi has dropped a donation of $7.99. Thank you, Cardi. He says he sent us a finals prediction graphic on Insta. Thank you. We'll get back to you.
I did see that.
Thank you.
I will do that.
Good man.
And what part were you washing when you were having these thoughts in the shower, Jesse?
My eyebrows.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could just say like chest.
Yeah.
Anyway, keen to see how Ben Keys goes. He's one of my favourite players to watch, and he's going to have to step up with ranking out of that side. So, you wouldn't have thought like a game that was played 2 weeks ago would have so much hype around it again, but it just does. There's so much more feeling in it again. It's going to be a fiery night at the Adelaide Oval, Thursday night footy.
I'm super excited. And there's so much with that inexperience element too. Like even the coaches going up against each other, like Matthew Nicks, Fly, he's got that a little bit more now, so a little bit more experience. Like it's going to come into it as well. What are we doing here? What are we tipping? I found this one difficult.
Forgot about that part.
I feel like we should tip.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm leaning towards Adelaide.
Yeah.
But I think but it's pretty 50-50 for me. I honestly think Collingwood can win and throw the finals predictions into chaos. Because if they win and get a home prelim at the MCG, then suddenly they're right back up there in the premiership stakes.
Who would the Crows play?
They would, if they went through to a home
Hawthorn
prelim.
Giants.
Yeah, they're in week 2. That's
if
who they
lost,
would play.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, at Adelaide Oval.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then face an away prelim. So that's what they want to avoid.
Something that we haven't really discussed is like how solid the Crows backline has been this year. Josh Worrell, biggest snub of the All-Australian team.
Easily.
I was saying to Jesse, and I'm the biggest Caleb Serong
Liam
fan
Duggan?
that there is. I didn't think Caleb Serong had an All-Australian year this year. Jordan Clark, yes. I didn't like how they had 4 mids on the bench, and I would have personally chose Josh Worrell in a spot for...
Yeah, I thought he was unlucky. I listened to the SEN with Kane Corns this morning, who sort of justified some of that stuff. Like they said they put Dacos on the bench because he could play as a halfback.
Okay, so you bring that like realism into it.
As in like we're actually going to play
selectively.
a team.
What
Very
defender's going to come
selectively.
on? You're going to play Matt Rowell at fullback?
It doesn't
I don't
matter.
know.
I felt like with Matt Rowell, and I think I mentioned that when we did our AA team last week, Jesse, like it had to be kind of Rowell or Serong. Because they kind of play that same first possession type player.
Yeah.
So I would have been happy if they pick one of those. I'm probably a little bit more than Rowell. Rowell's had a better year this year than Serong.
Serong's just been tagged out of games too many times for me. Like, I love this man, but I didn't think he had an All-Australian year. Jordan Clark, I think, will win our BNF.
We had him in.
We had Clark and Worrell. We didn't have Raoul Serong, I reckon.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't have either.
Yeah.
I'm making a tangent here, but the way that Collingwood moved the ball in that Melbourne game looked like pristine. The way that they were just kicking in, making the ground big. Feel like the Crows are going to set up a lot better behind the ball. I'm going to tip the Crows. I think the Crows will be a bit too...
I'm Crom.
Yeah, I'm going Crows, but less than a goal again.
I mean, 12... What is it? 12 out of their last 13 or 11 out of their last 12
It's
Crows
close.
at Adelaide Oval. So it's like, it's going to be a big deal if they go there and knock them off. Yeah. I mean, it would be, as you said, it would be a massive tick for Collingwood in the premiership. Like they'd almost come into one of the top 2 favourites, I reckon, if they did win.
Yeah, home prelim.
For a team known for its ability to win close games, they've lost 4 of their 7 games this year by a goal or less.
Yeah.
Who was that to? Freo was one of them. I just wanted to get that in.
West Coast, no.
All right, should we move on to the Friday night game? Brisbane face the Cats at the MCG.
Rematch of the 2024 prelim, this one.
One of the best prelims I've ever seen.
Yep.
It was outstanding.
That was a good game. That was a good
Cal
night.
Archie is the one player from that game that sticks in my head. Just mesmerising that night.
Was it Rayner that was getting late goals as well? In that game?
I think so.
There was some unbelievable goals in that game, just out of nothing from the pocket, mercurial stuff. Rayner, Archie.
That soccer, who crossed it in? Was it Brian Myers? Kicked it across and someone come across and hit the tap in. I can't remember exact. My vision's blurred from that night. I remember it being a very good game. Though.
Real messy areas.
Yes.
From Brian Myers, I remember. So in 2025, they played in round 3 and round 15, and Brisbane won both of those games. The first of which was at the Gabba by 9 points. in round 3, and then in round 15 they won by 41 points.
They got a big lead, the Cats, in that first Gabba game, I remember.
Yeah, they did.
Because I had tipped Geelong and I was filthy when Brisbane came back and won. I was devastated.
I don't think I've watched this fixture personally.
Oh, yeah. It's going back to the start of the year, basically.
I think we might. Did we stream that one, that early round? No, we didn't. Sorry.
That was Collingwood with Pommy.
We did Giants and Hawks that week. But I definitely watched the round 15 game, and the Lions really implemented that, like taking the uncontested marks away from Geelong, and they had plus 30 themselves in that game. Jeremy Cameron still kicked 4 goals, so it wasn't like they shut him out of it to win it, which was interesting. But what do you boys think overall? Who, where can they get at each other?
Well, when I think of the Cats, I just think of the run of Holmes and Bailey Smith. Their one would really. Speaking of the gears that Brisbane can go through, do you think Geelong have that same nous, or do you think they rely too heavily on the transition and the run?
They do. They probably do. And I think if you're lining these two teams up, as much as you mentioned Bailey Smith and Max Holmes, Brisbane, they don't have those like technical midfielders like Brisbane do.
Yeah.
The ones that kind of win the ball on the inside. So their clearance game clearly isn't as good as the Lions.
Yeah.
That could be
more crafty.
Much more crafty, exactly. And then sort of get it out, get it inside 50, and then they can allow those like small forwards to get into the game. Where with Geelong, it is kind of, concede first possession and then we start, starting from half back, which can be a little bit more difficult to get going, I suppose, at times. Yeah,
I think pound for pound, the Lions are stronger. Because you think like another one of Geelong's biggest weapons is that like, craftiness in the half forward line, but Brisbane equally have that with Zach Bailey.
Yeah.
Cal Archie, who you said missed the September.
Loman, Rayner.
Yeah, well, Loman hasn't really had as good of a year as he did last year, but Charlie Cameron sort of come into form in the back end of the year. And it's been a while since Chaz has really got back to his best, but...
I think that forward line is the area, though, that like if anywhere where Brisbane have dropped off a little bit, it probably is the forward line. Like losing Danaher...
Logan Morris has lifted so
much. He is
much,
lifted.
Though.
He has massively lifted. But like, can you absolutely rely on Eric Hipwood? I am a little bit concerned about a Charlie Cameron.
Is Hipwood out?
I thought he was in.
I thought Hipwood might be injured.
Double check that.
I'm pretty sure he is injured.
I mean, that would be a big deal because I feel... Who are they playing then? Sam Day?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He continues a recovery from a calf strain he sustained in round 23.
I feel like they still need that, overall, they kind of still need that target man to be there for them. They've just got so many other killers around skirting around the half-forward flank.
We got a comment from Zayan saying Eric Hipwood injured 3 weeks, and Liam confirms that Hipwood is out for the first week.
Yeah.
Assuming good with if they win that's only one game that he missed, presumably.
But yeah, I think it will be harder without that target man, 100%. Like that craftiness in the midfield. And one of the best games I went to this year was Geelong and Collingwood at the G. And I've said it on the stream before, like watching Bailey Smith in person, you see the amount of impact he has from defence to attack. But
he's not necessarily, I agree with you, but he's not necessarily a guy that is... how would you put it? Like when you compare him to say like Will Ashcroft and Lachie Neale, he's not that guy that's like really in and under and clean and getting it out.
Techie.
Basically a techie guy.
Much more of a sort of athlete
than
a Lachie Neale or a Will Ashcroft, whereas they're like, much more highly skilled. I agree. Harris Andrews, All-Australian, just goes to the Coleman medalist. It's a pretty fun matchup.
Yeah, I'll cop the responsibility for this AA team, but I have never had an All-Australian team slaughtered so hard. We put Wiedering, and I say we, it was
really?
me. Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, the thing is with All-Australian teams, I can't say that I've watched every team equally.
Yeah.
I just thought Wiedering had a great year, and evidently, like, he didn't even make the squad.
Yeah.
So that blew up in my face. But we got some good engagement, so thank you.
It all went well.
Yeah.
But I think probably, again, this comes back to watching that, listening to that SEN episode this morning, but I think they sort of did it with, they didn't want like another one of those like Sam Taylor type defenders in Jacob Wiedering, like sort of one-on-one beasts.
Yeah.
They kind of went for Harris Andrews there as that more intercepting type. Is how they did it. But yeah, that'll be a fun matchup. Absolutely. Who wins that?
I've tipped Brisbane. I think that.
I meant the matchup specifically.
Oh, the matchup.
Yeah.
Well,
aren't you embarrassed?
So It's like the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, bro. Yeah, I feel like the supply to Jezza will be a bit less than it has been in the back end of the year. Like even Bailey Smith said it on the awards night. He was like, "Yeah, we've had a pretty like easy draw heading into finals." Like,
I noticed he said that.
That's pretty crook.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that they kind of are doing that a little bit though to try to like get the media to play them down? They don't want to be favourites, so they're sort of like, "Yeah, we have had an easy draw."
Yeah, we're not going to win the flag. Definitely not.
Yeah, that's not
that
us.
Bulldogs game. Who do you think gets the best of that matchup? I don't have an answer for that.
It's worth saying. Oh, we're talking about the matchups too. I was going to go to the game. Wait, Cameron and Andrews. I think it depends so much about what happens up the field. If the ball's coming in clean to Jeremy Cameron, I think he's a more transcendent talent.
Yes,
to be honest. So in theory, he would have the better of that matchup slightly. But again, if Brisbane are putting pressure on the midfield. And the ball's
so what you're saying
coming in
is the game's going to be won and lost in the midfield?
Yeah, well, I think that matchup will depend absolutely on how the ball's coming into Jeremy Cameron.
Yes.
Darcy Gardner probably goes to Jezza. Harris Andrew roams off Shannon Neal and goes to intercept, says Liam.
Yeah, it's a good point. The amount of like targeting they'll do of Cameron will be pretty significant, I reckon.
Do you think the Cats have flown under the radar because of their draw at the tail end? I think they have.
Yeah.
They've just been like getting the job done.
I think we sort of said that on that previous stream too, didn't we? Like they're kind of they're playing the best football. Yes, that's matchup dependent as well because you can kind of supercharge the numbers a little bit, but they've had an awesome season. I think they've got the players. Someone mentioned there too, Sam Day and Ty Gallop is the other one playing at the moment. So he's just a rookie, but he's played some pretty good footy as well, coming off as the sub, I think, in recent games.
Tips.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning here, one thing we haven't covered is the Lions have won 4 out of the last 5 between these two sides. And last year, with all due respect to Sydney, this was the real grand final, given what happened a week later. And I remember with Geelong, I remember not being super convinced about them going into the finals last year, only for them to annihilate Port Adelaide in week 1. And I think everyone was like, oh God, like Geelong are going to win the premiership. Like what the hell? That was just scintillating. And then they came up against the immovable object in the Brisbane Lions. So it'll be a great game and potentially a grand final preview. I'm just going to say the Lions with the head-to-head, they'll win this game by 11 points.
I just want to ask this question before we fully wrap this game up, but whose midfield would you take between these two teams? Because I think they're very different.
Brisbane without a second guess, like a second thought.
I think it is the correct answer.
I think it's closer than that.
Yeah, so do I.
When you consider Holmes, Bailey Smith, Dempsey on the wing, Atkins.
Like inside particularly.
Say like starting 4.
Well, yeah, Neil, Ashcroft, Dunkley, and Raina Bailey.
Versus
other
Smith.
Ashcroft.
I mean, generally speaking, Geelong would be Smith, Holmes, and Atkins, right? That'd be their...
Yeah, that'd be the starting.
And then like Buse.
But then you got Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
pretty
it's
good
2025 Dangerfield. It's forward Dangerfield.
He's still pretty fucking good though, isn't he?
I think Dangers plays his best footy as a forward at the moment.
What I would say, like if you take out Rayner and Bailey and those forwards who spend minimal time on ball, Geelong are more dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Physically dynamic.
Smith and Holmes in particular.
Yes.
Is this referring to like running ability though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, line breaking, changing angles. Max Holmes gets the ball. I know you guys know this, but I've seen Max Holmes get the ball like a metre away from an opponent, not even really break into full stride, and suddenly he's got 20 metres on his opponent.
Yeah, I know. He's so quick.
It's insane.
And they're both they are both still. We talk about the technical ability, but they are both still very skillful.
Yeah. 100%. Now there's levels to it at the elite end though, isn't there? You know what I mean?
100%. It's a good. I think it's a good. Like those things are good talking points. Like different styles of midfielders. Werty says Leicester usually does a good job on Cameron. I do recall that being a matchup. Leicester going to Cameron at times. More that medium type.
Timmy saying Atkins is underrated. I mean, you're going to be underrated when you're in a midfield with Bailey Smith and
he's a good
Max
player.
Holmes.
Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out. Will Neil be ready? I think they've just put him on ice. I reckon he's ready to rock and roll.
From the beginning, they said first week of finals he'll be fit.
Yeah.
So that would have been a month, right? Last 3 games plus the bye.
I've got the injury list here.
Brisbane have won their last 5 at the MCG, says Liam. That's crazy for a team that had a perceived MCG hoodoo for a while. 5 in a row.
What do
That's
you
crazy.
guys think of like Brisbane having the wood over them, and then also on the flip end, like Geelong have got to beat them at some point. Like, what side do you lean
Yeah.
towards?
How much does that just sort of, I don't know, almost become like superstition, right? Where you're kind of going, well, they've got to beat them eventually.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you were watching games between Adelaide and Collingwood over the last 11, if you thought that after 5, it wasn't happening until, you know what I mean? Like
They just got the wood over them.
For me, it depends how close those games are. Because if they're all narrow wins, then you'd think, okay, well, you know, you change a couple of variables here and the result changes. But like, there's some teams that, for some reason, annihilate teams for no reason. And this is not an example of that. So therefore, can't read too much into it, but we know Brisbane is good at the G. They play Geelong relatively well.
Another good point here from Lewis. Would this be an entirely different game if it was played in Geelong? I don't get why finals aren't played in Geelong. I know they get a big money incentive to play at the G, but...
Yeah.
Well, that's the entire thing. That's the entire argument.
Are you trying to win flags or are you trying to win money?
I don't think Geelong gets to choose, do they? I don't think it's Geelong's choice. I think they would happily play games at GMHBA. I think it's the AFL.
Yeah.
The AFL is contracted to have a certain amount of finals at the MCG. So once in the 90s, West Coast had to play a home game at the MCG in finals. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I reckon it was like 1990 even.
That's incredible. So they had to travel over and...
Yeah, and host Collingwood, I think it was. I might be fudging the details there.
Collingwood thing of all time.
Yeah. It might be more flexible these days now. I don't know if that's still in place because it seemed bizarre with the amount of non-Victorian teams we have, particularly in the 8. But I'm sure that there was in the contract, the 57-year contract, there's a deal around, a clause around like finals. They might be able to do it over a couple of years, maybe.
It sounds like some like medieval bullshit, doesn't it? The 57-year contract.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
Well, it's the one, is it 2057, the MCG contract? Or I can't remember exactly what it is. The Treaty of Versailles?
There was a good comment here saying that, it's from Wordy saying Geelong had the wood over Brisbane until a couple of years ago. They pumped them in 2 prelims. So...
That was kind of a Brisbane issue, though, I feel like.
That was when they were
finals
the
performances.
Neely men, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Oh, well. Spoke a lot about that game.
Yep.
What's next, Dylan?
Next game is Hawthorn versus the Giants. First elimination final, Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Bit of a weird time. But I guess that's not too bad, is it? It's some afternoon footy. Last time these two met was round 3. It was a wet and windy Tasmania. We streamed that game, Druzy.
We did.
Back then. And from memory, the Giants got out to a massive lead at quarter time. I don't think Hawthorn had kicked a goal, and then the Hawks pretty much controlled the game from there. They won it by 12 points. I don't know how much you can take from this game.
There was like a 6-goal scoring end.
Because there was a wind.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But it was sort of like once Hawthorn had got back into the game, they were just able to control the wind after that a little bit. So
remember who had a big day that day?
Will Day.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I feel like he was pretty big that day. So the question is... I was going to make a joke. I was going to make a joke about will Day win this game, but then I stuttered.
He's not playing. He's out. Weddle is playing VFL footy this week, which is imagine playing in the VFL and it's like there's Josh Weddle. You're like fuck.
So he's coming back from injury.
Like just I don't know.
If you're playing against him,
if you're playing against Josh Weddle and it's like a VFL player. Like obviously VFL is still a higher standard, but Josh Weddle on his day is one of the best players in the competition.
He'd also be a nightmare for VFL players because he's just so athletic. He'd be just running over the ground. He'd look like a gazelle.
Yeah, at that level, those traits would stand out even more. Yeah.
But he will be back for the GWS game if he makes it through and is fit. But yeah, Will Day really broke that game open in the previous time they met. So they're gonna to have different strings to their bow. What have you guys made of Hawthorn's end of season form? I obviously missed a large chunk of it.
So who did they beat? Oh, they lost to Brisbane in the final game. I actually didn't catch much of that because
we pumped Collingwood, didn't they?
Honestly, their last month has been really, really strong.
Yeah.
Lost to
Adelaide
in Adelaide. Mm-hmm. Then they had a win in between that against Melbourne. They smacked up Melbourne. That's when I said they were like flicking the ball around like prime Barcelona.
Yeah.
Just their passing was unbelievable. Then they went up to Brisbane and sort of narrowly lost that. So I feel like they're good. And I know this has like been a typical narrative around Hawthorn pretty much for the entire season, but it's like they do just feel like a couple of star midfielders short when Will Day's out of the team. Newcomb, Nash, probably Ward and Warple, these types. Like, is that really a good enough midfield to make a finals run? It might be enough to beat the Giants, but I don't know if it's enough.
It's just not, is it? It's a Petrarca, it's a Butters, it's a Harley Reid.
I mean,
Harley
Zach
Reid's
Butters would be it.
Yeah, that's all they're missing. And it's
Everything else is great. Like you look at that back six, largely it's got enough balance of offense and defense in there for them to get the ball out, defend those really, really difficult players. Like Battle's had an awesome season. Barras has been good. The forward line, particularly with the smalls, is super dangerous. And when they've got like that right mix of Deere, Lewis and Chol, I think like that's probably a good enough forward line to win a premiership. Meek's a good ruckman, I think.
You've got all Australian players at both ends, Battle and Gunson.
Yeah. And in this particular matchup, I think Meek's going to be really important because if he can get on top of Briggs, that'll give them like a little bit of an advantage from the midfield. But yeah, it just doesn't it feels like across 4 quarters against these really good teams, first or second week of finals, they're going to run into trouble.
The Hawks are quite highly ranked for defensive transition, which is something that will help them against the Giants of all teams. They're actually quite a good defensive, they've got a really strong defensive profile. I think as well, the interesting thing with them is I think they're 3-7 against the top 8 sides, but they've generally all been good games.
Yeah.
So there was obviously a smashing win over Collingwood. They beat the Giants. There's a close loss to Geelong, Fremantle in Perth, Brisbane at the Gabba. They were very competitive, and the Crows. Like that, those were all good performances at least the ones that I watched. So that sort of bodes well for them. Their performances against the best teams, while they haven't gotten over the line, they have generally shown up. And I would agree with what you touched on earlier that over the last month, I've probably seen the best version of Hawthorn that I have seen at any point this year.
Yep.
So are we at the tipping point yet, or is there any other point? I was going to jump in.
Have GWS's midfield been consistent enough this year?
The GWS's midfield, I mean, from a ball movement point of view, they've been great, like Callahan and these types, and the half forwards get involved, but they haven't been good enough from a stoppage point of view.
Which is crazy when you've got Tom Green in there.
Yeah, I know. He's the best first possession player in the comp, just about. I know I say that about a lot of players. I say that about Sarong, I say that about Rao, but he is up there. And as far as actually, I think from a first possession point of view specifically, he actually is the number 1 player in the comp statistically. I don't really get that. The only thing that I can put it down to from a pure stoppage point of view is Briggs, because he's had a poor season. I feel like he was really up and coming a couple of years ago, and he's just sort of plateaued. He gets smashed around consistently, and that hurts him.
People are very hot on the Giants, like people that have that opinion of like the Giants can go all the way, but like I'm just looking at the team that they fielded last week. Their bench, like. Good players, but young players like Grzyzewski. How do you even say
I think
Grzyzewski
is how they pronounce it, yeah.
Like Rowson, Ware, Fonte, Darcy Jones, second-year player, Angwin, Harvey Thomas. Like, there's so many young players in this team. Like, you take out all the players that they've lost over the last little
that's
bit.
the thing. I think there is an element where this year is a bit of a transition year.
Yeah.
It's just that they've got a few of those players at the late end of their career, like exactly how long are they going to go on, I suppose, and can you keep the entire team together?
So Toby Green.
Yeah, Toby Green I'm thinking about. Probably Howard's Hogan. He might be a little bit younger.
30.
Yeah.
30, yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, Hogan feels like one of those players that wouldn't play late. Like he wouldn't play till 35, but that could be just a complete...
Yeah, I mean, he missed a fair bit of footy, I reckon, through his personal... Does that increase his longevity? I don't know.
It could do.
It peaked later as well.
He's on a day-by-day at the moment. Jesse Hogan with a foot injury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's been another tale of their season, like just having interruptions with injuries to really good players. Like Taylor's been out for a long time. Buckley's been out for a long time. Finn Callahan had a 4 or 5 week period out as well. Hogan.
They say Kelly, Hogan, Stringer and Buckley are likely to be available against Hawthorn.
I mean, that's big.
Yeah.
That pretty much all of those players that Druzy just mentioned on the bench probably make way for those guys.
100%. Yeah.
That's true.
And they are, like, as you said, Jesse, they're like, as far as moving the ball from the back half, they're really good at that. So when they lose clearance, it doesn't necessarily hurt them.
Yeah. Have they ever been a strong clearance side? I don't think so.
Not an awesome clearance side. No, not under this sort of regime.
Yeah.
They've always been the orange tsunami from the back half.
The amount of midfield talent they've had over the years now be like, I don't know, Callahan and Green or Bus. Like, I don't know. We'll see which midfield shows up.
It's a little bit. I feel Bedford's an underrated player.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's a good player.
Good start to the year.
Forward.
Did he finish strong?
I mean, he's still a role guy, but I think he's a role guy with a little bit more, like with his pace and stuff like that. Like he can be creative as well. But he is like, he's I guess he's a tagger of some sort.
I'm back in. This one is the hardest one to tip for me, I reckon.
The gap between the Giants' best and worst is up there with any team in the competition, I think. Like they have, in the last month, they've had great wins over the Gold Coast Suns, sloppy against St Kilda, but I'll give them mulligan because they always seem to slip up against them. 88-point loss against the Western Bulldogs.
That's so
against
random.
a team that didn't play finals. And I know the Dogs are potent, but it's those kinds of performances that make me nervous when we compare it to Hawthorn, who haven't knocked off that many top 8 teams, but they have been in all of those games just about.
Yeah. This is completely anecdotal for me, but I feel like every time I watch the Giants, they're 4 goals down 10 minutes into the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then they're just wrestling their way back in. And either like the Western Bulldogs game, they didn't wrestle their way back in.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do and sometimes they win the game. But I feel like they're constantly trailing games.
That Sydney game was ridiculous. I was watching that in Geneva Airport and we had to go to our gate.
Little drop there.
Yeah.
I was in Geneva.
Having a glass of Pinot Noir. Continue.
I couldn't afford a glass of Pinot Noir in Geneva, mate.
Yeah,
but
true.
The point I'm trying to make is, which alludes to your down by 4 goals point, is I went to the gate, shut my laptop, and Sydney were 5 goals up, and they had a 10-goal third quarter or something like that. So they can pile it on.
That's how they play, which I suppose Brisbane are a little bit like that too, and we seem to have more confidence in them because they won the premiership last year, right?
That's true.
But I don't know. I do feel like if I'm tipping this game right now, which team do I have the most trust over? It's Hawthorn.
I trust Hawthorn
I
more as
totally
well.
agree. Yeah.
I tipped GWS in my finals prediction, but now I'm leaning towards Hawthorn.
I don't know what the record is. I should have this in front of me, but I don't think the Giants have been particularly strong at home.
No, that's true.
No, and it's not a fortress as well. They don't have a home ground advantage.
There's a loss to Port Adelaide there this season.
Yes.
We beat them there.
Yeah, close loss to close win over Richmond. I think they had to come back from being fairly down.
Yeah. So they finished 5th, which makes it look like there should be a big gap. But it's not really there, is it? They're not getting any advantage from finishing 5th.
West Coast kept them to about 83-point margin, so I guess closer than it should be.
That's a good comment here from Liam P. If GWS kick straight, I think they win. That's my favourite football analysis of all time. Kick ball straight, win game football.
Yeah.
How hard is it? Let's stop all this analysis. Just kick the ball straight.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I genuinely feel from a match play point of view, if you actually take out the efficiency in front of goal, it'll be an even game. You'll look at the stats to this game at the end and everything will be pretty even.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
West Coast fans will be death riding the Hawks in this clash because we have their first round draft pick. So up the Giants.
Ooh, yeah.
But I am tipping Hawthorn.
Tipping Hawthorn.
Just the trust piece. This whole first week is pretty even. It's pretty justifiable whichever team you tip. It's such as the nature of the top 8 this year.
There was a comment from Ryan Hall, sort of alluding to that tiki-taka Barca style that you were talking about, Dill. Which game style do you think does more damage? The Orange Tsunami, the transition from the back half, or the Hawks controlled method, which was a big part of their premiership success back in the day as well?
Is there more to that?
And then he says, see the Giants' defence a lot stronger than the Hawks' forwards and vice versa down the other end. I think their forward and back line sort of match up, to be honest. I think
I actually had a comment on my sheet here that the comment I wrote was both teams handle each other well.
Yeah.
Did that sound
like a secure attachment style?
No, you know what I mean? The weapons of one team, the other team has the kind of players that can handle that.
Yeah, I think the word you're looking for is fondle, but yes.
Yeah, exactly.
We all just lost the plot.
I wanted to go back to that
for
comment.
different reasons.
I think it's interesting, what's better. I think the answer, it's probably not a very sexy answer, but I don't think it's one or the other. I think you have to be able to, modern football demands that you go into modes. Because you're never going to be able to rely on defensive half transition. It'll look good. And I think it probably... Is he talking about when he talks about Hawthorn there, kind of that possession-based style?
Yeah, what does more damage?
Yeah, I think you need both. Because I reckon if all you can do is kick and chip the ball around, you're probably not going to be dynamic enough in the contested footy.
Yeah.
And different phases of the game. So I think the game demands that you drop into those different styles when it's needed and against different opposition.
I'd probably say Orange Tsunami, being able to transition the ball, bit of counter attack. If you're coming up,
if I was comparing transition versus stoppage heavy game styles, I'd definitely say transition heavy game styles. But as far as like, I think most good teams, like look at Brisbane, you look at Collingwood, who have won premierships in the last couple of years, they've been able to do both.
Yeah.
Very well said. Now on to the real stuff. Ooh. Thank God he got through all that fodder.
I think this is the easiest game of all of them to tip. We're talking about Gold Coast and the Fremantle Dockers at Optus Stadium on Saturday night at 7:35 p.m. Now, the Dockers have beaten the Suns the last 3 times in a row. So I just think at home, with a young side coming through like the Gold Coast Suns who have never played finals before.
Did you think he was going to say Fremantle?
No.
Because I thought he did. I thought you were going to
set
the scene
feel
for
like
Fremantle.
you're just like,
I'm saying Fremantle.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I think Fremantle win.
I thought
Yeah,
you were like
no.
teeing up like, here's every single stat in your favour why you should win. You can't drop this, can you? Can you? You can.
Well played.
You can. No, I'm going Freo. I just think the momentum that they've like carried into the final series, they haven't slipped up. I assumed that they probably would have slipped up last week. Tipped the Dogs in that game on the road. Gold Coast, are they going to be able to do anything significant? I think they're probably the weakest team inside this top 8 overall. Not necessarily on paper, but experience-wise.
Yeah.
That forward line worries me a little bit with the likes of Ethan Reid, and Walter's actually not on the team, is he? They've brought in, is it Farah?
Yeah.
To kind of play that sort of pseudo-tall role. So they've got, I don't know, it just looks a little bit disjointed in the forward half of the ground. Ben King's a very familiar one-dimensional forward.
He's good at that dimension, though.
He is good at that dimension. He is good at that dimension. But how does, again, they're another team similar to what we talked about with Geelong. They've had a fairly soft draw across the entire season. I think coming into the season, they had the easiest on paper.
They were saying before the season, like, if the Gold Coast Suns don't make finals in 2025, it's like a tragedy to the AFL. Like, because obviously it's like a big project that they've built there.
And they've limped in.
Yeah.
Like they've really only just made it in the end with that game against Essendon.
Gold Coast actually scare me a lot. I'm not going to lie.
To be fair, they won it by 95 points.
The last game.
So, yeah, it was more of a hop, skip and a jump rather than a limp. But
that was the biggest sure thing, though, of all time, them beating the Bombers.
Yeah. There was like 2 minutes of like, oh, this could be funny. Essendon. No.
Didn't even finish the sentence. I saw that the Dogs still had to go to training on Tuesday because they might be playing. And then the article said it was like really morbidly depressing.
Did you see the photo of Sam Darcy, Aaron Norton and Ed Richards in the same hospital room and that all just had surgery?
And Bailey Dale on the stage was also in a sling.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Imagine if they got up. They'd be throwing in some wounded soldiers. But,
100%.
Watching that Gold Coast game the other night.
That's why they lost.
It's hard to make... You have to make that comment. It's hard to compare how they're going to match up against us because Essendon are such a depleted young side that they just... Gold Coast moved the ball however they wanted to.
Yeah.
Rioli and...
That's a big in, though, Rioli, because he hasn't played for a while.
Is it Richard sound back or am I getting him confused with Noble?
Noble.
Similar blonde ex-Collingwood players. So that was their one would at the start of the season. It was like, man, that's what they needed. That dimmer ball, transition off the back half. Mac Andrew, Sam Collins, Buelan down there really strong. Their midfield terrifies me. I think they're the second best clearance team in the AFL. And there's some sort of stat that like, if they win, I probably should have done some prep on this stat, but it's like if they win points from clearance, they win like 100% of games type thing. Noah Anderson could win the Brownlow, could be the best player in the AFL right now. Had 35 and 3 goals against Essendon.
Yeah, it was absolutely obscene.
The way that they were walking the ball out of their midfield and just
I don't think we have to dwell on that game though too much. Like that isn't the test here.
That's recency. That just shows at full flight.
Yes.
That's how good they can be.
Against the under 16 side.
Yes.
Having said that, they've beaten 3 of this year's top 4 with wins over the Adelaide Crows, a massive win over the Brisbane Lions. I think it was 11 goals.
And that was relatively recent too.
Yes, it was. Yeah, which we didn't actually mention when referring to Brisbane earlier. But that is a pretty good record against the top teams. For me, actually, I don't think this is a talent battle between these two games. Because I think if it's a talent battle, Gold Coast go close to winning the whole thing on paper. But so much of this game will be psychological. I think Fremantle's come a long way in that space, obviously with a few big tests this year, but most notably, that was one of the biggest wins in their recent club history for a long time. And it clearly shows that was a mature team unwilling to lose. And I have faith that they will go into this final with that similar mindset. The Gold Coast Suns are a huge question mark, never having played a final. I think there's been, I thought I wrote down which players have played in finals on their list. There's not many. Daniel Rioli is obviously one. Noble. Any number of players that they've traded in could have played finals. But that for me is where I'm not sure I trust Gold Coast to come in and throw everything at this game. I think if they do, then absolutely it's a danger game for Fremantle. But for me, it's the trust piece rather than the talent or the structure.
It is, and it's hard to quantify because of the fact that Freo are still a young team as well, right? So they're still. It's not like they've played a ton of finals as well. But I think when you look at the body of work over the season for the Gold Coast Suns, you mentioned those good wins, but they've had more, for me, in recent times, more of those like kind of really poor losses.
Richmond at Marvel.
They're not
Fremantle. Take it.
I'm going to let you sit in that one.
Like the bad smell that it is. I'm trying to think of the other losses that they've had, but they've definitely had some. Obviously, the Port Adelaide one.
Yeah.
That didn't feel like a terrible loss to me because I feel like Port had a lot to play for in that game.
They did.
I also think that Port still, like, they've underperformed this year. So, like, that was probably. But that
essentially was a final for the Gold Coast Suns. Like, they could have missed.
Yeah, it was for top 4 as well.
That's
crazy. Yeah. It ultimately did cost them top 4. I kind of do agree with Drews there. I think that one, as far as poor losses go, that's not terrible. I mean, I think every team just about has had a poor loss.
They actually, this season though, how many teams have lost to sides outside the top 8 or the top 9?
A lot of them.
I don't think there has been that many, and particularly because
since
about the halfway point of the season, nobody's dropping games.
There's like 2 speeds to this league
Yeah.
at the moment.
Unless it's a Sydney. I think Sydney were the one that knocked it. They got you guys
They got
late
the
in the
Lions
season.
as well.
They got the Lions, So they were really the only giant killer. I think from about round 16 onwards, that was their only 2 losses.
Yeah. What gives me
Outside
hope is like that difference. Like Freo actually haven't been great against the bottom sides this year. We've lost to St Kilda, Melbourne.
But you guys, that's
more
more based in the front half of the year.
Yeah.
Because your second half's been incredible.
Yeah, and that's what gives me like a lot of confidence heading into this final series is our record against the best sides. Like, other than Brisbane and Geelong, I think we've beaten every other side in the top 8. I think we've beaten Hawthorn, GWS, Gold Coast, Adelaide, and you can't
Collingwood.
Collingwood.
I don't think you said.
And then
Collingwood.
you can't be. Yeah. Anyway, so
Hawthorn.
we are a young side, but we have matured a lot. Like, we've had this list together for quite a while now. So we are young, but we've learned a lot of lessons. I sort of said it off the top, like, that game against the Bulldogs felt like a game in the past that we would drop, where the expectations would overwhelm us. And that Brisbane game the previous Friday night sort of felt like that. So Lewis said Optus Stadium sold out, going to be a sea of purple. People talk about it as a home advantage, but as a Dockers fan, it has an anxious feel to it at the ground. It's almost like you get in the front half and like they almost bottle it because it's like so much excitement and energy.
It's almost like the way that they talk about, particularly while Manchester United have been like down the bottom of the table, like what Old Trafford's like.
Yeah.
It's kind of turned into a
frustration,
theatre of fear.
Yeah. Theatre of disappointment.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into that.
Let's dwell on this.
The way that we transition the ball is hot. I love it. Like, I'm not massive on the Luke Ryan kick-ins when he goes long to Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson in the same pack. They sort of bring it down to ground and let our Murphy Reid, Sam Switkowski's, Fredericks and Boltons go to work. When it works, great. That's what we saw at Marvel the other day when Murphy Reid gets his hands on the ball and we just got a paddock to run into. But the Dogs' defence made it look very good. And when you come up against a side that can hunt the contested ball and they're up for it and their pressure's high, I don't think that style of ball movement works. And when you eliminate the transition football against Freo, we've seen how shit we are at the slow chip mark. Like, we've been criticised for it for so long. It's a cliche, but yeah, just got to get field position with the midfield. But the Suns have one of the best clearance midfields in the comp. So it will be a very tough game. Like, I hope that sort of Gold Coast making finals is their like their pinnacle, like we've made it, and then they drop off.
Absolutely could happen.
But this is by no means an easy game. I do think, though, the way that our backs have held up this season, we've won, 13 out of the last 15 now. Something silly.
That's your biggest strength, right?
Yeah, the way that we've set up behind the ball. And that's what Longmuir has implemented. Alex Pearce keeping Darcy to a goalless game for the first time since round 17 of 2024 is immense. Brennan Cox, if he held his form that he's had in the last 12 weeks of the season, he would have been All-Australian. He's one of the best intercept defenders in the league at the moment for me. Jordan Clark. And then guys like Kyle Warner has had such a good season as well.
I'd agree with that.
Can I just rein you back in here for a second?
I'm getting excited.
Yeah, okay. Do you mind if I expose you very quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I believe the phrase to describe this game you used last night was Fremantle are going to mop the floor with Gold Coast. Do you remember saying that? Yeah, I think that was a direct quote. And you said that about Hawthorn too?
Did I?
I'll let that sit with you.
Did I?
Yeah.
I can't remember saying that.
Selective memory.
Pushing me in front of the bus there.
Well, that's made it weird.
Did I not?
No, you did say mop the floor.
Did I not say Gold Coast scare me more than any side?
I heard you say that right now.
No,
that was a minute ago.
No. I don't remember that. But
if I brought up all the things that you said at home, this channel would be cancelled. No. Thanks for reining me in there, Jesse.
Well, I think it's needed to be said. You said mop the floor.
I did say to Caden, I was like, easy dub. But I don't actually think it will be.
I did see the fixture and I thought that's a good fixture for Freo. Like you would have rather get, I think, what was the other option getting? Hawthorn. I'd have rather get the Giant, the Suns.
We'll see.
I agree with that.
Well, I think, our back six will hold up well against our forwards.
One thing, just when you were talking about the defence there, like that, I think that is Freo's biggest strength area.
Yeah.
Even if, what did Western Bulldogs score against you last week? What was the points?
I think it ended up being about 80 in the end.
They did too, but it was late.
Yeah.
They kicked a heap of goals late. Yeah. But I think at one point there, I thought in the last quarter, you've held them to 10 goals, which they are a scoring machine.
I think it was 97.
97?
I think it was 97.
Was it 97 to 110 or something?
112.
I feel like they kicked a lot of goals late.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it was 97.
At that point, our defence had held up enough to have that comfortable lead.
Exactly.
And the Bulldogs are also one of the most potent teams in the comp.
That's what I was saying, yeah. Rogue Wright says, Finn McRae robbed of All-Australian captain. We'll probably leave that one for later. Thanks, Rogue.
Chester for vice captain.
Yeah, baby.
The bin.
He's getting...
Shifty says, I reckon Freo win easily. They will be very scary the next year or after a team on the up. Well, we've been on a fat win streak heading into finals. I'm doing I did my finals predictions, and I know I'm an Uffie, I know I'm a purple-eyed Freo man, but I would take confidence. There was a question earlier, who would I prefer, Brisbane at the Gabba or Geelong at the G? I don't think we'd have a chance against Brisbane at the Gabba, but the Cats at the G, I would actually fancy us in that picture.
Here we go.
I would.
I reckon you'll win this week.
Don't give us a chance against Geelong at the G if Brisbane win.
I think you're a chance. I wouldn't tip it, but I think you're a chance. Yeah.
Beat them in the last two finals as underdogs.
That was 12 years ago.
That's all right.
Is there a single player? Oh, 5, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That counts for
We got to get him a chip. We got to get him a flag.
Suns win just
for the Druzy crash out. Look, the Suns will be a tough test, but I think our defence will hold up nicely. Their midfield scares me. Hayden Young back into the side, put Shea Bolton on the ball a little bit more. Luke Jackson had a really good game against him on ball. It was in the wet, so I'm not sure how that's going to look.
I like him in there. I reckon he gives you something a little bit different. When you're running that sort of Sarong Brayshaw combo, he just breaks that up a bit.
My favourite midfield mix, you're going to love this, Jesse, last week was Caleb Sarong, Hayden Young and Neil Erasmus. That was winning more centre clearances than any other mix.
Overflowing with talent.
Bro, Neil Erasmus is coming of age.
He's had one good game.
He's had multiple good games.
Okay.
Continue.
Yeah, all right.
Continue.
Okay. So who are we tipping? Just to put a line under. I'm Freo.
Freo.
Yeah, Freo will win this game. Yeah.
Freo will win. I found that one probably of the 4 games. I thought that was the easiest to tip.
Yeah, I would agree with
Neil
that.
Erasmus, 3 votes.
Not a dead certainty, but of the 4 games, I agree. It's the easiest.
Yes. Okay, so we'll move into power rankings just to kind of see where we actually sit these teams for the long haul throughout the final series. Coming in at number 1 for me, just to kick things off, I have moved them from second into first, and I have gone with the Brisbane Lions here. Currently third on the ladder, as we know. I just think they've got so much finals nous in that team, so many match winners, as well as that technical midfield that we talked about, a good back six with some young up-and-coming players, and they're going to do damage again, aren't they? Like, they're probably going to win this flag.
Brisbane for the flag for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone got anything
They
different?
might have to play the Cats twice. I'm just sort of envisaging how this plays out. Like, if they win week one, then they might have to meet them again in the grand final. I think it's probably the most likely grand final combo. So
Yes. Is there any disappointment from you guys that they actually weren't separated in the first week inside the top four so that then they would kind of both go straight through?
On the flip side,
bit disrespectful
if you
Adelaide.
play in week one, you can play again in the grand final, whereas I don't know if that's possible if you are on the other different games and you both
Yeah, you're right.
win.
Like if you
could
didn't
wait, no,
play
that's-
and then you, yeah.
I don't know if I've got that right.
No, you're
I don't
right.
know if I've got that right.
That was my grand final prediction in the preseason was Cats versus Lions. So
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
sort of riding
Wow.
that. But do you want me to just run through my power rankings? Is that how you want to do
we
it?
can.
We'll start with number one.
Well, mine,
If
yeah,
you want.
Brisbane.
Oh, you went Brisbane as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're,
I actually went the Cats.
oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
like them. I don't know. I just think they've flown under the radar. Look, it's hard to really make a case that they should be higher than Brisbane. It's just vibes that we're going off at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
Analysis.
even the argument that Brisbane have finals experience is well, it's true, but it's kind of also a vibe that we get because we've seen them do damage in finals before. That also applies to the Cats here, albeit probably a few new players in that mix, but they've still played finals. I'm really thinking of Bailey Smith, actually. He's played in a grand final. So
It is funny though how much we put down to that, isn't it? That experience in finals, because we most of the time when you were analysing football games, you're like, who's got the best players, who's got the best coach, the best game style, those sorts of things. But that comes into the mental side of it more.
Yeah.
And it's still a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shea Bolden's going to get his fourth flag. Freo at one.
okay, I was like,
Wow.
how did we
Finals
get there?
experience.
Yeah.
I was like,
Tom Sato says, it's anecdotal, but every Brisbane fan I speak to isn't feeling confident about their fitness.
that's good insight because
That's something you wouldn't pick up on as a not Brisbane fan.
No, I mean, they have had their injury concerns in the back half of the year. They've had a lot of missing players. I think Chris Fagan said a couple of weeks ago in a press conference, like it's there. He does say a lot of stuff like that, to be fair, but he's like, this is our best ever season just because of the adversity of losing players. But I don't know, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they are kind of getting players back too quickly.
There was an 11-goal loss to Gold Coast not that long
Yeah.
ago as well, which shouldn't be totally ignored. And I do remember a big patch in the early part of the season. They were winning games, but they were playing half a game. Like they came over the top to beat West Coast in the last quarter. For instance, they did the same thing against Geelong. Collingwood schooled them around that time. And there's probably more examples, but I felt like it took them a while to really play complete games.
I like what Zayden said. If Freo make it past the semi, they will win the grand final, no problem. Can we make that guy a moderator?
Why do Freo keep coming into
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
I'm just reading the chat, bro. Just reading the chat. All right. So after Brisbane, I think I've said all year Brisbane and Geelong, but I feel like Adelaide, if they face Geelong in a prelim, we'll get to the promised land of playing in the last game of September.
Geelong are the only team that's beaten Adelaide there this year.
Well,
It's just
the
I'm
Hooters
not
gotta
saying
go
you're
at some
wrong.
point.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Wait, can you say that again? So if Geelong get Adelaide,
At Adelaide Oval in a prelim. So
you,
if Brisbane
you're,
beat them,
you're tipping Adelaide there.
I would back Adelaide, yeah.
That would rely on Geelong losing
To Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would buck your Adelaide theory of teams coming into the finals and making the granny.
I don't have Adelaide making my grand final.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I as I said, I've had that same grand final all year, but when I did my predictions, I was just like, Adelaide, they're the hot, shiny new top four team. So I did have them. I've got them. I actually think Geelong is second for me, then Adelaide. And then I've got Freo in fourth. And who can tell me anything different?
Freo are fourth.
Yep.
So I just
Interesting.
want to clarify that point. So with the teams not playing finals and playing a grand final, they were the premiership teams. They didn't go through teams that had made the grand final and lost.
Yes.
Yeah, just to clarify that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Because there would probably be a few examples of that.
Yeah, I got us above Collingwood, GWS, Hawthorn, and then Gold Coast.
So I'm Brisbane. I'm Geelong. I'm Adelaide, and I'm Giants, which is pretty weird.
I went Collingwood
because I tipped Hawthorn to beat them.
Yeah, that cannot possibly make sense.
That doesn't
make any sense.
No, I've done that wrong.
That's why we did Fremantle 9th in our power rankings, because you can't tip the Bulldogs and then say Fremantle are more likely to win the flag. So the same applies here.
Freo wouldn't. If there was a world where Freo and GWS made the grand final, I think our footy's better than theirs.
Yeah. Is there life on that planet in that world that you're describing? Yeah.
How many games did your team win this year, Jesse?
Doesn't mean your team's going to win the flag.
No. At least we have a shot.
Just means my team isn't either.
Western Australian banter. Who's my day?
So unimpressed.
Good from you. I just ran through mine, but I'll say it again. So Brisbane, Geelong, Adelaide, Freo, Collingwood, GWS, Hawthorn, Gold Coast.
I had the same top 3. I went Geelong, Brisbane, Adelaide. Collingwood is still in my 4. I think if you make the top 4, have the MCG factor as well, being a good MCG side, and just a belief that they would deliver in finals, I think I put them ahead of Hawthorn, and then Fremantle. Again, MCG factor, hard to split those two. I think Hawthorn's form has been compelling, Fremantle there. And then the 2 teams that I think will go out in week 1 with the Giants and the Gold Coast Suns being 7th and 8th.
Yes. That's what I have tipped as well, except I've somehow in my power rankings ended up with Giants at 4, so we'll just ignore that. And then I've gone Collingwood, Hawthorn, Fremantle, Gold Coast.
So the Giants out in week 1, but still higher than Fremantle.
I don't get how. I'm not going to argue over if Freo were the 5th or the 6th or the 7th in the power rankings. But we're better than Hawthorn and GWS.
I did that completely exclusive of one another, so I didn't look at the logic when I was actually tipping the
that's
games.
fair.
So I kind of just went who is more likely to do a run into the finals.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like
get that.
Freo and Gold Coast are the least likely to make a run.
I'm not going to get into this.
I see what you mean,
It's a football show,
because it's depends on
Well, we've beaten GWS comfortably. We've beaten Hawthorn and we've won 13 of our last 15. So how are you having GWS and Hawthorn above?
Yeah, but that's
Freo?
like saying how do you have Adelaide not being first when they're on top of the ladder and they've just beaten Collingwood and
everyone basically except for the Cats. Yeah.
So
we're not taking anything. We're not going into any context.
I would have the Lions and Cats above them based on just experience. Do you think GWS and Hawthorn are they
both have more experience than you guys.
Is that why you have them above us?
Not exclusively. I think they've got better. I think the way they play is more conducive to winning finals.
Okay, fair enough.
Overall.